CTV News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. Trees and hydro poles are down. There is damage across the town of Harrington today in the Laurentians. Environment Canada says it might have been a tornado. For the people who survived it, the experience was harrowing. Sweeta Rassi has more.
A camping trip that was supposed to be peaceful and quiet was anything but.
We saw the rooftop drop on her head.
It happened Tuesday in Harrington. A possible tornado hit the area. The family says it was terrifying.
And we just take my mother, the dog, the kids, and just stay all together.
I was thinking if tomorrow I'm going to be alive. I was terrifying.
Environment Canada says the storm hit between 5 and 6 p.m. It didn't last long, but the aftermath is hard to miss. Broken trees littering the streets. The town's mayor says many local roads were unpassable.
But we have 66% of our roads that are affected by trees, mature trees.
Hydro lines were also down, leaving hundreds without power. Environment Canada isn't able to confirm yet, but believes this was a tornado.
So we were in a very warm and unstable air mass, which led to the formation of multiple thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms.
So this tree fell on this?
That's exactly what Donna Hines thought it was going to be, just a thunderstorm. But when she got the tornado warning on her phone, she acted quickly.
We ran into the basement. I think it lasted about 10 minutes, but we just kept hearing falling trees. It was very scary.
Trees are scattered all over her property, damaging parked cars and her roof.
I'm still shaking. Like it could have been, nobody was hurt. That's all I keep saying.
With the help of her community, the cleanup has already begun. As for the family at the campsites, they say their vacation is over and hope the next one won't be this eventful. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
There's a very strong smell coming from a construction site in Pointe-St-Charles. People who live nearby are asking what's in the soil that's causing that smell. They're also asking whether it poses a health risk. Laurence Brisson-Debreuil reports.
It's hard to describe.
It's really sharp. It's almost like fuel or something, or like asphalt.
It's a weird sort of plasticky smell.
But the odor has become hard to ignore for people living and working near this construction site in Pointe-St-Charles. And for some, the concerns go beyond the smell. Several residents told CTV News they've experienced headaches, dizziness, and nausea, and worry about what they're breathing in. Sadia Khaled lives just steps away. She says the odor sometimes drifts onto her balcony. What worries her most? She says her toddler coughs when they walk past the site. The city says the odors appear to be coming from soil excavated during decontamination work. It says inspectors have visited the site and the borough is closely monitoring the situation. Montreal Public Health says it does not yet have enough data to determine whether there are risks to people living nearby. But it says initial air tests do not suggest an immediate health risk. Officials say more test results are needed to assess any potential long-term impacts. The site is currently closed at the developer's request, while authorities review the data and determine next steps. Once an industrial warehouse site, it was purchased by daycare center Les Enfants de l'Avenir in 2024. The land is being prepared for a future 200-spot public daycare. The center's executive director says they knew the land was contaminated, but not to this extent. In a statement to CTV News, the center says contaminants producing strong odors were discovered about 2 weeks ago. It says testing completed last week found those contaminants were below hazard thresholds. Officials say measures are being put in place to reduce the odors as testing continues. For some, that's reassuring.
Even if there was something toxic there, they got to remediate it somehow, so they got to get it out of the ground.
Others say they still have questions.
Hopefully there's some checks and balances about if it's like decontaminated enough to have kids there or just anyone, really.
And even if the location is convenient, some parents remain unconvinced. She says she wouldn't feel comfortable leaving her daughter there. And until more results are in, some residents say their concerns remain. Laurence Brisson-Debreuil, CTV News.
If we stop to think about it, it's not surprising to hear that truck drivers don't want to work in Montreal. Think negotiating potholes and detours while driving an 18-wheeler. Matt Gilmore reports.
Stand on Notre Dame East, and you'll likely hear the trucks coming before you see them. Montreal's potholes aren't just an irritant. They're costing trucking companies money.
We break a lot of equipment, suspension, tires.
Marc Cadieux is with the Quebec Truck Drivers Association. He says most companies are struggling to find drivers willing to work in the city. The road conditions are one factor, the closures are another.
The construction, the narrowing of many streets in many arrondissements of the city of Montreal, the lack of space for our trucks to park on the street corners to perform those deliveries.
Taken together, Cadieux says it's enough for many drivers to throw up their hands. 15 years ago, he says a driver could realistically complete 5 or 6 deliveries in a single day. Now that number is closer to 3.
We deliver 7 days a week to those Provigo, IGAs, and Metro. There are 53-footer trucks at delivery at Metro and an IGA, even on the Plateau Mont-Royal.
He says he often hears people talk about using smaller trucks or doing deliveries at night. But to meet the city's needs, he says neither solution is realistic.
You would need 6-7 little trucks to do the same performance of a 53-footer. And now, when is traffic hour? I mean, at night. Our streets are the highways are narrowed from 9-10 o'clock at night to 1 lane.
A frustrating portrait of the challenging conditions faced by one of the backbone industries of the local economy. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
Donald Trump's tariff policy is under scrutiny in the United States. Jameson Greer, who is Trump's top trade representative, testified today before the U.S. Senate Finance Committee. Here's Judy Trin.
The general in Donald Trump's trade war, Jameson Greer, was grilled on why he was using a 1930 law to put new 50% tariffs on Canada.
Nobody, not even Herbert Hoover, used this provision before, but Donald Trump dug up a zombie law to make things even more expensive for Americans.
The U.S. trade representative justified the actions.
We're fighting against a ban on American liquor on shelves. We're fighting against hard caps on export of American cars. So we've never banned Canadian products. We've never done that kind of thing, but we're fighting against caps on American cheese.
The senators responded with a barrage of examples of the pain Trump's policies were causing. They say last year, costs for the average American family went up by $1,700 and tourism plunged.
Number one, our tourism is down about 40%. A lot of that has to do with the rhetoric that the president has used, and I don't hold you responsible for that. But the 51st state, the governor of Canada, that rhetoric has really inhibited Canadians from coming down.
There's concern the White House has crossed the line with these new tariffs that impact an additional $28 billion worth of Canadian exports.
How are you approaching the risk of retaliatory tariffs from Canada?
I talked with my Canadian counterpart yesterday. They did not say they're going to retaliate.
The Trump administration continues to exempt Canadian energy from tariffs. That's also where they're the most vulnerable.
I mean, it's, you know, the truth is, if Canada wanted to, you could shut down our electricity in New England and cripple oil and gas.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has not ruled out retaliation. The government is considering targeted action, especially in Republican states where seats are up for grabs in this year's U.S. midterm elections. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
The premiers continue to be preoccupied by the new tariff threats, but today at their meeting, they were focused on problems closer to home, from energy and health care to national unity. Maria Saru is in Charlottetown.
All 13 of Canada's premiers spent most of the day around one table. Much of the conversation stayed in the room, but the broader moment was put plainly.
Nothing unites like a common opponent. And there's no more popular opponent in Canada right now than Donald Trump.
And it seems for now, old domestic divisions were set aside, with premiers from Alberta and Quebec saying separatist sentiment wasn't an issue.
No, I didn't hear any comments on that topic.
Premier Smith?
Yeah, no, it didn't come up. There was more common ground on health care, with premiers asking Ottawa to pay more.
Today, the country's portion is down to 21%. So we need to see that come back up because the needs are greater.
They're calling for the Canada Health transfer to grow by at least 5% per year starting in 2028. For the territories, energy security is a top priority to protect and power their communities.
One of the key things that's holding us back is our lack of connection to southern power grids.
We found ourselves in a very dangerous situation last winter where we almost couldn't meet the demand. We didn't have enough generation capacity to meet the demand that Yukoners had. That was during a prolonged cold snap.
They're looking to the federal government to help close those gaps.
Tariffs will likely be back at the top of the agenda tomorrow when Prime Minister Mark Carney meets with premiers, and divisions around how to retaliate could make for tense talks. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
There could soon be a deal between Quebec and Newfoundland on Churchill Falls. Premier Christine Fréchette says there could be an agreement in the coming weeks. Fréchette has met with the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, Tony Wakeham. Wakeham says he wants to renegotiate the deal that was signed with Quebec in 2024. And observers believe that he would like to get it done before a possible PQ win in the upcoming Quebec election. The PQ has said it would tear up the current agreement in favor of a much harder line approach. A social media account belonging to Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet has been hacked. In recent days, English posts have suddenly appeared on Blanchet's account, and there have been posts promoting cryptocurrency. The party confirms that Blanchet's account has been hacked and is telling people not to click on any links in the posts. A landlord who also happens to be a lawyer for the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation has been fined for rental violations. Jonathan Savard-Shaw has been ordered to pay more than $21,000 for illegally evicting his tenant. Last June, Savard-Shaw bought a triplex on De Vivier Street in Longueuil. He evicted his tenant, saying he wanted to live in the unit, but he didn't. He re-rented the unit and increased the monthly rent from $1,200 to $1,700. Well, Steve's Music Store is now officially closed, and anyone hoping to own a piece of that much-loved store or buy one last instrument can make a bid online. Olivia O'Malley reports.
Sounds of drums and guitars used to fill Steve's Music Store. But now those instruments are being packed up for auction.
Hopefully everything gets sold and picked up.
Everything left in the now closed flagship store has a lot number on it. It can all be bid on during the online liquidation auction.
Vendor Custom Shop, Buddy Guy Guitars.
The auction is on the Bid Continental website. It's a 2-day event. Drums are available Wednesday. The rest, including guitars, keyboards, and recording gear, will be available on Thursday. The St. Catherine Street East location was open to the public on Monday and Tuesday. It was a chance to test gear before placing a bid and an opportunity to say goodbye. Vice President Michael Kerman says 500 to 600 people visited.
Especially a lot of the old-time customers who are coming in. Same set of emotions. You know, it was your home away from home. You know, a lot of people are coming here buying their instruments, dealing with the same person for the last 20 years.
Kerman took over the 62-year-old business after his father, Steve, died.
He was 18 years old when he started it.
In February, Steve's other locations in Toronto, Ottawa, South Shore, and the West Island were shut down. The flagship store was the last one standing until now. Kerman says several factors are behind the closure, including a changing music scene.
It's getting harder and harder. More people are buying online. There's a few boutique shops, but shops like our size that had the variety that we had, there's not many.
The family business has played its final note, but the music can carry on at home. The online auction runs until Thursday evening. Olivia O'Malley, CTV News.
An American from Pennsylvania is visiting the Montreal area this week, and there was something very specific he wanted to do. Over the last 40 years, Vinton Smith has donated blood in all 50 states. Yesterday, he had a meeting in New York State near the Canadian border, so he decided to cross the border to donate blood in St. Bruno, Quebec. His message, you don't have to donate blood just at home.
Donating blood is an act of kindness. It's an act of kindness to our neighbors, to my neighbors back home in Pennsylvania, to my neighbors in neighboring states, and our neighbors here. And I think if we can think about that way, well, this world could be a much better place.
Even if we're on vacation, the patients who need blood are not in vacation. They need the same amount of blood as the rest of their year, which is 1,000 donations each day. So even if our usual donors are in vacation, we still need people to move and come give blood.
Emma, Quebec says the need for blood is always strong, but especially in the summer. And they're hoping that Vinton's donation inspires other people to do the same. And coming up, the Apollo Gallery is open again.
I don't know what they did over 9 months. Hopefully they increased security.
But 9 months later, still no crown jewels, and the famous hall stands empty. And at Dover Air Force Base, 4 caskets are returned from the Middle East. The official opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge was supposed to be a celebration of friendship between Canada and the U.S. Well, no longer. And now there are more details on what Canada gave up to get that bridge open. Mike Lucachua reports.
The long-awaited Gordie Howe Bridge will open to traffic July 27th, and the agreement paving the way for that to happen has finally been made public. It says Canada will share 50% of net bridge and crossing-related revenues with the U.S. for the first 15 years. It also notes net bridge and crossing-related revenues is all revenues collected with respect to the bridge, less all incurred operating costs of the bridge. But that contradicts what Prime Minister Mark Carney told CTV Calgary 10 days ago.
We are sharing after Canada is paid back.
Carney attempted to clarify things a few days later.
Splitting of tolls, any sharing of the toll revenue won't happen until all of the debt is repaid.
The 2012 deal would have seen Canada collect 100% of toll revenues until the country recouped the $6.4 billion in building costs. Carney's shifting message drew criticism from the Conservatives.
It's hard for me to believe that him and his finance minister did not know what they were saying at the time, hoping that scrutiny would erode and that ultimately they'd be able to escape the day.
The industry minister deferred specific questions on the bridge deal to the Prime Minister.
And I think it is important to be able to work on the stability of the relationship between Canada and U.S., including when it comes to the Gordie Howe Bridge.
The president of the Detroit Regional Chamber also underscored the importance of the new span.
It helps accelerate commerce and business opportunities on both sides of the border, particularly for the province of Ontario and the state of Michigan.
Friday's bridge opening event was supposed to include U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Ambassador Pete Hoekstra. But a senior Canadian government source tells CTV News the event will now be a Canadian-only celebration. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
There are now 173 wildfires in northern Ontario. Most of them started in the past 10 days. First Nations leaders are calling for a public inquiry into Ontario's wildfire response. They say the communities are being left to fend for themselves. More than 1,800 people have been forced from their homes, and 12 of the 13 communities affected are First Nations. Heat warnings have been issued for most of southern British Columbia, and that's fueling the 90 active wildfires across that province. Of major concern is the Boston Bar fire in the Fraser Canyon. Officials say it is growing and moving fast, and evacuation orders are now in effect. The bodies of 4 American soldiers are now back in the United States. The dignified transfer is a reminder of the human cost of war. It's a war that's threatening to expand. Here's Christian Cordero.
Today, one by one, cases draped in the American flag were transferred from a military jet onto American soil. Military personnel escorted the bodies of the 4 fallen service members at Delaware's Dover Air Force Base in order of rank. 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan of Hawaii, 30-year-old Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton of North Carolina, 28-year-old Sergeant Angel Rampersad of New York, and Private Isabella Gonzalez of Texas, just 19 years old. President Trump was among the guests in attendance meeting with the families before the dignified transfer.
They're their children. There's no games, no nothing. That's their child. And all you can do is throw out your heart.
The Pentagon says 3 of the fallen soldiers were killed during Iranian airstrikes at a U.S. base in Jordan. Sergeant Swinton died from injuries he sustained during the controlled detonation of an Iranian drone in Iraq, according to the Pentagon. Their deaths mark at least 18 Americans killed so far in a war that continues to escalate. Trump today in a social media post threatened to bomb one bridge or power plant anytime Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran responded on state media threatening to retaliate against any such strikes by hitting bridges and other infrastructure in the region that the U.S. relies on. In addition to the human toll, Defense Secretary Hegseth told senators yesterday that he estimates the war with Iran has cost an estimated $37.5 billion. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
A former Montreal City Councillor and political commentator, Justine McIntyre, is running for the Liberals in the downtown riding of Saint-Marie-Saint-Jacques. The riding covers the gay village. McIntyre says homelessness in the area is a major concern.
I think we have to start looking at prevention much more. What can we do to help people, to give them a path to be able to stop consuming drugs? But then we have to look at also all of the other risks and issues that could lead somebody to be in a situation of homelessness. It's not just drug use, obviously, although that's a factor. So we also have to look at mental health. We have to look at isolation.
The riding has long been held by Quebec Solidaire MNA Manon Massé, who is not running again. The election is October the 5th. And coming up, it was a very difficult time.
You've got 3-4 months, pack your bags, because you're going to die. Stage 4 melanoma, stage 4 breast cancer.
William Shatner and his daughter go public with their treatments for cancer. And the new model cars getting more distracting than ever.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, it's a beautiful evening for the circus here at the Big Top. As I speak right now, the performers from Cirque du Soleil's Echo are getting ready to hit the stage. The show is on at 7:30 p.m. and it's all about balance between living beings and the world around us. Luckily, the show does a better job at achieving balance than the weather as of late. If we turn to some visuals that we have, this is from Louisiana. We see Bertha, the second named storm of hurricane season, has hit land at the southern tip of the state. It's brought a threat of storm surges that is up to 3 feet, along with a warning for areas like New Orleans. That said, we're also seeing some extreme weather here closer to home. So turning to areas like the Laurentians, a possible tornado last night left behind some significant damage. It downed power lines, trees, and caused damage to some homes as well. But thankfully for southern Quebec, it is looking like winds are expected to die down, and that rain is also clearing out over the course of this evening, or that chance of rain. And if we look to our current temperature right now, we're seeing 19 degrees in the greater Montreal area. So looking pretty comfortable, though cooler than the normal daytime high of 26 at this time of year. But things could get a little bit cooler overnight. We're forecasting a low of 13 degrees with that 30% chance of showers moving out as we head into tomorrow morning. morning. We'll wake up to a temperature around 15, and then we're expecting the mercury to move up to a high of 25. We should also have some mainly sunny skies, so more good news there for those of us in southern Quebec. We see those clouds continuing to move out as we head into the afternoon on Thursday, and looking like a pretty good weekend as well. We also see that temperature warming up. We have a daytime high of 27 degrees expected on Friday, with more sun and cloud continuing into the weekend. Saturday we should have mainly sunny skies and an even warmer temperature of 29. With the humidity, it could feel more like 33 degrees, so keep that in mind if you're headed out. On Sunday is when we're expecting to see some rain moving back into the forecast. We could have roughly 3 millimeters coming in with a high of 28, and then get ready for the start of next week. That's when we are seeing a possible return to some thunder showers. But good news is daytime highs should be around the seasonal range.
It's been almost a year since the theft at the Apollo Gallery at the Louvre. The gallery has reopened, but the crown jewels are still missing, and the mastermind behind the theft is still at large. Ralph Sanchez has more.
9 months after a gang of jewel thieves burst into the Louvre's Apollo Gallery, pulling off a brazen daylight robbery that stuns the world, this morning the gallery is finally open once again. But the magnificent hall stands empty, a painful reminder that the stolen crown jewels are still missing, and one of France's greatest mysteries remains unsolved.
I was shocked when I heard it happened. I don't know what they did over 9 months. Hopefully they increased security.
Of the 8 priceless treasures taken, only this crown has been recovered. Dropped by the thieves and damaged, it was returned to the Louvre after DNA checks. While some of those behind the robbery may still be on the loose, police have arrested 4 men, including the pair seen here smashing the display cases before climbing down a ladder truck and escaping on mopeds. Both have low-level criminal records, police say. And according to the French newspaper Le Monde, they recently told investigators they were paid around $22,000 for the heist and handed the jewels over to a shadowy mastermind, who they refused to name in case he retaliates against their families. Days after the robbery last October, we met Alexandre Portier, a French lawmaker leading a parliamentary investigation into the heist.
Do you have confidence that French law enforcement will be able to find the thieves, find the jewels?
He told us then that he feared the jewels may already have been cut to pieces, and with each passing month, those fears only deepen. If there's any comfort, it may be in the smile of the Mona Lisa. She was stolen in 1911 but recovered 2 years later, restored to her rightful place at the heart of the world's most popular museum.
6 belugas from Marineland are now in their new homes in Chicago and San Antonio. In all, 30 whales will be moved to 5 marine parks in the U.S. and Spain in what will be a huge and delicate task. Will Reeve has more on that.
It was a whale of a rescue. 6 belugas now waking up in their new homes in the United States, saved from a shuttered Canadian marine park that could no longer care for them. The transfer mission of nearly 36 beluga whales began on Monday after Marineland Theme Park outside Toronto announced they could no longer care for the animals.
I can't imagine losing what they're losing, but we're honored to get to help.
4 belugas reaching Chicago's Shed Aquarium, and 2 more, named Birdie Bots and Frankie, reaching SeaWorld San Antonio Tuesday morning.
Beautiful.
After a harrowing rescue to move the whales, which can weigh as much as 4,000 pounds each.
The pace of having to put all of this together so quickly at such a large scale makes this an unreal project.
Workers first maneuver the beluga into a giant sling that has holes for its flippers. A crane then picks it up and moves it to a larger blue container. It's padded and full of water and home for the next day. Transport trucks then bringing the whales to the Toronto airport, where they were hauled onto a transport plane. The full rescue will take several weeks to complete, but so far the whales are doing swimmingly in their new homes.
Will Reeve, ABC News, New York.
Anyone who's been inside a new car these days will know the recent models are more distracting than ever. Meanwhile, those self-driving cars, It seems they're interfering with the first responders. Carmi Levy is our tech analyst. Hi, Carmi.
Hi, Mitsumi. Great to be with you.
So, Carmi, researchers in Sweden studied new cars for distractions. What kind of things did they test for?
They were trying to figure out how much time it takes to do common activities. So raise the temperature, turn the defroster on, maybe switch radio stations, turn down the brightness on the instrument panel. And they measured how long it took. And they did this 5 years ago in, obviously older vehicles. And then they repeated the tests this year on newer vehicles. And what they found was it took longer for us to do these common tasks in the newer vehicles because the screens were larger. Things weren't on buttons anymore. We had to dig into menus. What we usually took 750 meters to do 5 years ago, now the car travels 57 meters further, 2 seconds more of distraction, which is kind of disturbing. We're busy playing around with our screens so much, we're not focusing on the road.
So the problem then is the touch screens, they're getting bigger? Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, they look really good in the showroom and it's all, for great marketing. But, in practice, the bigger the screen is, the more we lose buttons, we lose switches. We no longer have muscle memory. We have to divert our attention from the road, onto these screens and kind of navigate them in order to hit, the seat warmer or whatever it is. So even some cars don't even have a volume knob anymore. So it takes longer to do it, much more distracting. And even when they introduce AI assistants, voice assistants, that doesn't make up for the fact that we're losing physical controls.
But doesn't that contradict the fact that car manufacturers always say that they're priding themselves in making their cars safer? So why not make the controls safer?
Because it ultimately comes down to economics. They want to find ways to make the car less expensive to manufacture. And the reality is buttons and switches are very expensive to engineer, especially if you're making the same car in multiple markets and you have to re-engineer it for every market that you sell the car into. Whereas with a screen, you just design everything on the screen, change the software from country to country. So as long as the government does not legislate, they legislate everything else, airbags, automated driver assistance systems, lighting, crash performance, but they don't legislate the interior, the size of the screen. And so manufacturers are using that as a way to save money.
I want to get to the self-driving cars now. So why are they a problem for the first responders?
So as it turns out, automated vehicles have trouble when they approach an emergency scene. So sometimes they'll just go right past the police tape and they'll get in the way of ambulances, fire trucks, police vehicles. They don't recognize things like flashing lights or traffic cones or road flares. Or if they see a fire, they drive toward it, not away from it. And that's a problem. They're getting in the way of emergencies because they don't recognize that this is an emergency.
Okay, but this doesn't mean that we shouldn't have self-driving cars, right?
No, not at all. And I think, we're very early in the development of this technology, so we would have to expect that there would be problems as we move out of the labs into the real world, that we would discover some glitches and then we would have to engineer solutions to them. But the reality is, the data shows automated vehicles, they don't drive drunk, they don't drive high, they're not distracted by their smartphones, they don't road rage, and the data shows they're involved in fewer, on a per kilometer basis, accidents, they have fewer injuries and fewer fatalities. So it will get better. This is part of the learning process, but ultimately this technology could potentially be safer than humans behind the wheel.
Mind you, I'm kind of intrigued with the idea of self-driving cars with road rage, but anyways.
It's only a matter of time, isn't it?
Right. So when it comes to touch screens that are too big, self-driving cars that are getting in the way of first responders, is this another case of technology changing so fast that the laws and the regulations just can't keep up?
I think it is. We haven't updated traffic laws, for example, to account for autonomy. The insurance industry is still grappling with it. Who's accountable in an accident involving an autonomous vehicle or a semi-autonomous technology like we see on some cars like Teslas? So we need to overhaul the laws so that they recognize these new technologies and do it faster because there is a gap. And it's also we have to recognize it'll take us some time. We've all been driving this way for over a century. It's going to take time to dismantle that infrastructure, that way of doing things, so that we're comfortable with new technologies on the road. It's not going to happen overnight. It'll probably take decades.
Always so interesting talking to you, Carmi. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mitsumi.
Police have made arrests in connection with dangerous driving stunts in Moncton, New Brunswick. This was on a busy street in front of a large crowd on Saturday night. Police say it began after a car show in Moncton. There were arrests and some 60 people were ticketed. And coming up, a cereal for outer space.
Chose our strawberry lavender superseed cereal flavor, and it was approved for launch.
It was a Canadian breakfast for the astronauts of Artemis II. And the cancer that spreads among fish, what it can tell us about cancer in humans.
Your Health, brought to you by Gratianscap's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
A species of freshwater fish is offering insight into how cancer survives and spreads. In this case, how cancer can transfer from one fish to another like a parasite. Here's Geneviève Beauchemin.
Below the surface of majestic Lake Memphremagog, researchers discovered a strange phenomenon, a contagious cancer spreading among brown bullhead catfish.
One of the things we're thinking about is this actually more common and we just don't know about it?
The finding opens broader questions about the spread of cancer generally, but also about environmental stressors. Anglers began flagging black velvety growths on their catch more than a decade ago, concerned there was a virus or a pollutant causing disease.
They were concerned about seeing these diseased fish with these, inky black tumors.
Wildlife biologists eventually determined a rare skin cancer was afflicting more than a third of brown bullhead catfish in the lake. DNA testing eventually led U.S. scientists to conclude the cancer was actually spreading from fish to fish. They hypothesized it started with one catfish with a tumor shedding cancerous cells. Now, this is only the fourth type of transmissible cancer identified in the animal kingdom, the first in fish or freshwater species. Contagious forms have also been found in the Tasmanian devil, clams, and dogs. The discovery could help study melanoma in humans and perhaps other cancers. Could it tell us more about potential transmission of certain cancers in humans?
I think it could. In humans as well, the cancer is avoiding the immune system somehow.
There's no evidence that cancerous catfish cancer could spread to humans. Still, wildlife officials warn anglers not to eat the fish with tumors. Researchers are asking anglers who find a fish with a black patch to report it so they can get as much information as possible. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Magog, Quebec.
William Shatner and his daughter were both diagnosed with stage 4 cancer within a year of each other. Well, now they've gone public to talk about what they went through. Morgan Norwood has more.
He's been a fixture on TV for decades, from Star Trek.
Risk is our business. That's what the Starship is all about.
To TJ Hooker, The Practice, even helping us get hotel deals. But this morning, 95-year-old William Shatner is sharing something personal, speaking out with his daughter Melanie about their stage 4 cancer diagnoses.
I went to an oncologist, they said, and they operated almost immediately with stage 4 melanoma. Melanie had stage 4 breast cancer, and my understanding is maybe as many as 10 years ago, if that had happened, they would have said, you got 3-4 months, pack your bags, because you're going to die. Stage 4 melanoma, stage 4 breast cancer.
In 2022, the then 60-year-old Melanie found a lump on her breast that led to her stage 4 breast cancer diagnosis. Just 1 year later, Shatner getting a diagnosis of his own. The father and daughter sitting down exclusively with People to talk about the experience.
His response was like, I'm going to be fine. You just were like steamroll, like the way you do. You just steamroll through it. Like I'm stage 4.
I don't believe I'm going to.
Truly.
Their close family bond helping them through their treatments. Melanie recalling a night she called her father for help.
I called you and I said, I think I'm dying. And I could hear your sheets rustling and you said, I'm coming over. And I said, no, that's okay. And you're like, no, I'm coming over.
We're in a very together family. We're bonded by all kinds of difficulties that we overcame, and who knows what else we're going to overcome.
Now they're both cancer-free and embarking on a new journey, hosting a podcast together called No Time But Now. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
There are more questions today about the future of the Montreal company Good Food. The company continues to lose customers and with it revenues. The company debt has grown to more than $35 million, up from just $12 million a year ago. The company's already drastically cut its marketing and personnel expenses, and company executives chose to forego their salaries in the last quarter.
Business news brought to you by Au Vieux de Louvre. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
Big tech companies have started to report earnings. Mirella Fernandez has more on that.
Alphabet is the first. The parent company of Google reported revenue of about $120 billion US for the last 3 months. A key metric for Alphabet is cloud revenue, which was up over 80% from last year, coming in at just under $25 billion US. Its CEO says its earnings success also comes from its AI chatbot, Gemini, AI queries, and YouTube. Like the other hyperscalers, Alphabet is spending billions of dollars on its AI infrastructure. Tesla also reported earnings today that fell short of expectations. Revenue came in above $28 billion US, but operating costs were up 47% for the electric vehicle company. Car sales drive revenue, although the company is building out its robotics and AI businesses, but those aren't generating significant revenue just yet. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation says home sales and prices will be dropping this year. CMHC sees about 13,000 fewer homes being sold, and the average price of a home more than $4,000 off. CMHC says uncertainty, slow population growth, and borrowing costs are all factors. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar's up to $70.99 US. West Texas Intermediate up over $2 to 86.83 US a barrel. Western Canadian Select up over $1 to 68.11, and the TSX gained 116 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Mirella Fernandez.
There are changes coming to cigarette packaging, and Caroline, they're going to get a lot more graphic.
Yes, if you can believe it, anyone who has seen a cigarette package lately would know that they are already very graphic, but Health Canada is going to force tobacco manufacturers to make them even more so, showing the ill effects of lung and mouth cancer and the effects of secondhand smoke on children. We'll have more on that as well. The Quebec Liberals have dropped a candidate after some controversial social media posts surfaced, and we will have more on a new campaign to prevent people from risking their own lives while trying to save others in the water. That's all on our late show at 11:30. Mitsumi?
Thanks very much, Caroline.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
A Canadian breakfast cereal has literally gone out of this world. Turns out that was the cereal the astronauts were eating during the Artemis II mission. Karis Mapp has more.
A historic launch for Canadians, not only because of the astronaut aboard, but also what helped fuel him during the Artemis II mission.
Canadian Jeremy Hansen, Canadian Space Agency, it makes sense that we're going to support him. He chose our strawberry lavender superseed cereal flavor, and it was approved for launch.
The stellar story began with the cereal company that launched during the pandemic, receiving an email in the summer of 2024.
It was from the Canadian Space Agency, which we didn't really know existed. We obviously are all familiar with NASA, but we kind of ignored it at first. We thought it was a junk email.
Further research proved the email to be legitimate, and the gravity of the space agency's request for Goldie's cereal settled in.
They were looking for a Canadian brand, a product that had super long shelf life, a product that was very light in weight, like the mass is light, a product that is nutritionally dense, easy to prepare, and a product that doesn't crumble like a cookie would crumble.
Once cleared for takeoff, the pair and their product were flown down to Florida for the launch.
We had to get the right amount of product down in time to Cape Canaveral for this launch, and we stocked the ship.
Getting to watch their cereal being part of the pricey project.
I think we were told that it cost $10,000 US per kilogram to get anything into space.
The Daniel duo have been friends for over 30 years now. Schreiber attended Wilfrid Laurier University and now tries to give back to the next generation of students.
They used this as a case study, so it was really exciting, obviously, to be there and share that experience with Schreiber, because obviously that was his old school, and just kind of walking those halls again from a different perspective.
One small spoonful for man, one giant crunch for mankind. Karis Mapp, CTV News.
Oh, and it looks like a beautiful night at the Old Port, Anastasia.
It is, Mitsumi. It's counterintuitive, but the later it gets, the more sunshine we're seeing right now. So you may want to check out Echo at the Old Port. Here's what we have coming weather-wise tonight and into the weekend. We're looking at a low of about 13 degrees with clouds and a chance of rain clearing out. As we head into tomorrow morning, expecting a wake-up temperature of 15, and that should move up to a daytime high of 25 degrees. And we're looking at mainly sunny skies, or a mix of sun and clouds for Thursday, holding on to that as we head into Friday as well. And as we get into the weekend, we can expect things to warm up even more. So daytime high of 27 is what we're looking at for Friday. And by Saturday, we could be at a temperature of 29. Sumi.
And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Stay well. Good night.